December 2nd, 2001. 20,000 people walk into the office that morning. They don't know it yet, but in 12 hours, they will lose everything. Their jobs, their retirement savings, their futures. This is the day the most innovative company in America filed for bankruptcy. $74 billion in 60 days, gone. But to understand how 20,000 lives were destroyed in 2 months, we have to go back 16 years. 1985, Houston, Texas. 2 energy companies merged to create a new corporation called Enron. At first, completely unremarkable. Pipelines, gas, energy trading, nothing that would make Wall Street lose its mind. Then came Jeffrey Skilling, Harvard MBA, obsessive, relentlessly ambitious, and absolutely convinced he was the smartest person in any room he entered. Skilling didn't want Enron to sell energy. He wanted Enron to become a trading machine that could sell anything: electricity, gas, internet bandwidth, weather futures, risk itself. To make it work, Skilling brought in a radical idea and borrowed from the finance world mark-to-market accounting. The concept was simple and dangerous. Instead of recording actual profits when money arrived, Enron could estimate future profits from deals that hadn't paid out yet and count them immediately. Sign a 20-year contract today, record all the projected profits today. Even if the deal collapsed in year 2, even if the money never came, the profits looked real on paper. Wall Street saw the numbers. Wall Street got excited. Wall Street pushed the stock higher, and Enron used the higher stock price to sign more deals, to record more future profits that didn't exist yet. The machine fed itself, but to keep the machine running, Enron needed something else. It needed people who would never ask the Inside Enron, the pressure was unlike anything employees had ever experienced. Every 6 months, managers ranked every single worker. The bottom 15% fired immediately, no second chances. The system had a name: Rank and Yank. Fear became the culture, competition became survival, and the only thing that mattered was your number. Enron hired aggressively from the best schools, young, brilliant, ambitious people who believed they were joining the future. They worked brutal hours, they competed viciously, and slowly, without realizing it, they stopped asking uncomfortable questions. Because at Enron, questioning the numbers wasn't called loyalty. Analysts who doubted the stock were mocked publicly by Skilling himself on live earnings calls. One analyst, Richard Grubman, asked about balance sheets during a live call in 2001.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Culture at its peak. Don't ask, don't question, just believe in Enron, one that nobody was allowed to. The fake profits could only go so far. The losses were real, the debt was real, and it had to go somewhere. So Enron built a shadow empire, hundreds of off-the-books partnerships called special purpose entities, designed for one purpose: hide the debt. Billions of dollars in losses were moved into these hidden structures. Investors couldn't see them, regulators couldn't see them. Even most Enron employees had no idea they existed. The man running this system was Andrew Fastow, Enron's chief financial officer. Fastow built the structures, Fastow ran the partnerships, and Fastow personally collected millions in management fees from entities that were supposed to be independent. He was essentially stealing from both sides simultaneously. And Ken Lay, Enron's chairman and CEO, remained politically connected at the highest levels. He was close to 2 presidents. He sat on the boards of major institutions. He was celebrated as a visionary. Nobody wanted to look too hard at where the money was really going. But while the executives celebrated, something even more disturbing was happening. 800 miles away in California, real people were paying. In 2000 and 2001, California experienced a catastrophic energy crisis. Rolling blackouts shut down hospitals. Families sat in darkness for hours. Electricity prices exploded. The official explanation? Supply shortage, simple economics. The real explanation? Enron traders were deliberately manipulating the California energy market. They had strategies with names like Death Star, Fat Boy, Get Shorty. These weren't metaphors, these were documented trading tactics, designed to create artificial shortages and drive prices to catastrophic levels. And the traders, they thought it was funny. In recordings released during later investigations, Enron traders can be heard laughing about a fictional elderly woman they called Grandma Millie, a California resident, being charged outrageous prices for power she couldn't afford. One trader, discussing plant shutdowns that would spike prices, said, "Burn, baby, burn," while millions of real people suffered real consequences. The men responsible were making phone calls, collecting bonuses, and laughing. This wasn't greed in the abstract. This was greed with a face and a name and a record. By early 2001, the cracks were visible to anyone willing to look. A journalist named Bethany McLean wrote a single article for Fortune magazine asking one simple question: how exactly does Enron make its money? Nobody at Enron could answer clearly. Skilling called her personally, called the article unfair, irresponsible. But the question was out there. Then the stock started falling. $90, $70, $50. Executives began selling their shares. Quietly, in August 2001, Skilling resigned suddenly, claiming personal reasons. Ken Lay took back the CEO role, told employees everything was fine, told them to keep buying Enron stock. Some did. Meanwhile, the executives who already knew the truth were quietly moving their money out. Then, in October 2001, Enron announced a $618 million loss and disclosed the hidden partnerships. The stock went into free fall. $30, $10, $1 on December 2nd, 2001. Enron filed for bankruptcy, $63 billion in assets gone. 20,000 employees lost their jobs that day. Their retirement accounts, invested heavily in Enron stock because the company had encouraged it, were wiped out completely. Some employees lost everything they had worked 20 or 30 years to save. Arthur Andersen, one of the 5 largest accounting firms on the planet, was found guilty of obstruction of justice for shredding Enron documents. The firm collapsed entirely. 28,000 people lost their jobs, not because they were all guilty, because the institution had chosen to protect a client over the truth. Jeffrey Skilling was convicted on 19 counts of fraud and conspiracy. He served 12 years in prison. Andrew Fastow, 6 years. Ken Lay was convicted on 6 counts of fraud. He died of a heart attack before sentencing at home in his vacation property in Colorado. Of the $74 billion lost by shareholders, almost none was recovered. Of the retirement savings destroyed, almost nothing was returned. But perhaps the most disturbing detail of all, Enron wasn't one man's scheme. Thousands of people participated: executives, auditors, banks, lawyers, analysts, board members, rating agencies. Every single one of them benefited while the numbers kept rising. And almost no one asked the obvious question: what if none of this is real? Enron didn't collapse because one man got greedy. Enron collapsed because every system around it chose to look away. The auditors who signed the books, the banks that structured the partnerships, the analysts who praised the stock, the journalists who celebrated the executives, the regulators who looked the other way. Everyone was comfortable, everyone was paid, and nobody wanted to be the one who ended the party. That's how empires fall. Not from one dramatic betrayal, but from 1,000 small decisions by people who knew something was wrong and stayed quiet anyway, because the money was good, because asking questions was dangerous, because the story was too good to question until the day it wasn't, and by then it was already over. December 2nd, 2001, 20,000 people walk into the office. By the end of the day, they have nothing. That's how every empire falls. First, the questions stop. Then, the losses get hidden. And finally, reality arrives, all at once. I'm Empire Decoded. The next collapse is already being built. Subscribe, because next time, you'll want to see it coming.